While most of the market was busy debating whether NFTs were dead, Nike kept building intellectual property around digital assets. On February 3rd, 2026, Nike was granted US patent 12541,763, titled Multi-Layer Digital Asset Architecture for Virtual and Mixed Reality Environments. This is not a patent for a simple JPEG sneaker. It describes digital apparel and game assets that can change based on real world information, and Nike explicitly names Chainlink as the blockchain oracle that could deliver those external events. The patent was filed in September 2024, but it belongs to a continuation family that traces back to a provisional filing from March of 2021. That matters because this was not a one off reference added to chase a trend. Nike spent years extending and refining the architecture before this version was granted. The patent also fits alongside Nike's earlier blockchain work, including its CryptoKicks patent, which connected physical footwear ownership with cryptographic digital assets. Here, Nike takes the idea much further by making the digital asset modular, programmable, and responsive. The easiest way to understand the system is to look at the diagram. Nike uses a virtual basketball jersey as the primary digital asset. That jersey can contain references to separate sub-assets, including an advertising token, a feature token, a conditional token, and a lease token. Each layer can have its own owner, rules, graphics, and value. A user could own the jersey while another party owns the advertising rights. A separate feature token could add fire, electricity, wings, armor, speed, or some other visual or performance upgrade. Those pieces can be bought, sold, traded, or leased without permanently changing ownership of the underlying jersey. That is the real difference between a normal in game skin and what Nike is describing. The digital item is not one fixed file controlled entirely by the game publisher. It acts more like a container for independently transferable rights and features. An advertiser could rent space on the jersey. A player could lease a temporary performance modifier. A conditional token could activate only after a specific event. The patent even describes tokenized patent certificates that could carry royalty rights, which is about as patent lawyer as a metaverse example can possibly get. The broader point is that Nike is treating digital objects as programmable economic systems. Now we get to the most important line. On page 5, Nike explains that the display of the digital asset may depend on an external event. The patent says the indication of that event may be received from a blockchain oracle, and then states that this could be implemented through the Chainlink blockchain protocol. That is an explicit reference, not a vague similarity that requires guessing. But the wording still matters. Nike is not announcing a partnership, and the patent does not prove a live integration. Chainlink is named as the example Oracle implementation inside the disclosed architecture. But honestly, why is an Oracle even needed here? A blockchain cannot automatically know that a customer entered a stadium, bought a concert ticket, won a tournament, reached a certain ranking, or experienced a real world event. That information has to come from outside the blockchain. The patent's flow is basically this: an external source reports an event, an oracle delivers or verifies that information, a self executing contract evaluates the condition, and the digital asset changes. The diagram even connects an oracle directly to the self executing visual alteration component. Nike gives a very clear specific example involving a concert and augmented reality. A user's digital shirt could receive a lightning effect feature after the user buys a ticket and physically enters the venue. The effect could remain active while the person is inside the geofenced area and disappear after they leave. The granted claims focus heavily on this location based behavior. They cover monitoring the user's location, determining that a geofence has been crossed, selecting a sub asset, modifying the primary digital asset, and then reverting it when the user exits. This is a digital product reacting to verified physical context. The advertising layer may be even more interesting and have more commercial benefit. Nike describes an advertising token that represents the contractual right to display a logo on the digital jersey. A smart contract could automatically compensate the user based on exposure or impressions. The creator of the underlying asset or the game host could also receive a commission. Nike goes further and describes pricing the advertising based on the user's influence, including game ranking, performance, followers, audience location, and content engagement. In other words, a digital shirt could become programmable advertising inventory with revenue automatically divided among the relevant parties. The same architecture can support performance upgrades, limited use assets, random outcomes, rentals, and features triggered by events outside the game. Nike mentions examples such as a jersey changing after a player wins a championship, a digital collectible reacting to a rare real-world occurrence, or an asset unlocking a virtual experience when another tokenized object is nearby. These sub-assets can have their own scarcity, expiration, degradation, and resale markets. The item is no longer just something the user owns. It is something that can continuously receive data and change its behavior. There is one important distinction to keep straight. The word Chainlink appears in the patent description, but the granted claims use the broader phrase blockchain oracle. That means Nike is not legally limiting the invention to Chainlink, and it could theoretically use another oracle system. Still, naming Chainlink matters. Patent specifications are written to explain how an invention could actually be implemented. When Nike needed a concrete example of the infrastructure connecting external events to blockchain-based digital assets, Chainlink was the protocol it chose to identify. This patent does not mean Nike is launching this product tomorrow. It does not confirm a commercial agreement with Chainlink. What it does show is how a major consumer brand has been thinking about the next generation of digital products. They are layered, location-aware, independently tradable, capable of earning revenue, and responsive to information from outside the blockchain. Every one of those features creates a need for trusted data delivery and automated execution. The Oracle layer may be invisible to the consumer, but it is essential to making the experience work. So the signal here is not simply that Nike used the word blockchain. Nike patented an architecture for digital assets that can react to real-world conditions, and it explicitly pointed to Chainlink as the Oracle example. Patent first, announce later. I'll keep digging through the filings to see who else is quietly building the same infrastructure. Subscribe for more. Bart'll do.